Okay, so for this lecture, I want to talk a little bit about what you read in chapters 10 and 11 of They Say and I Say. Chapter 10, but don't get me wrong, and chapter 11, he says, contends. Okay, so first we'll start with chapter 10, but don't get me wrong, the art of meta-commentary. So what the heck is meta-commentary? Your book puts it really nicely. So I've used a quote from your book. The first time they use it was on page 131, but they use it throughout that chapter. A way of commenting on your claims and telling others how and how not to think about them. So basically, you're trying to avoid any kind of misinterpretation that your reader might have about the arguments that you're making. We've talked about this a little bit before in the context of other chapters, but you want to be very explicit for your readers. You do not want to leave your readers guessing. A meta-commentary is a way for you to avoid your reader having to guess your meaning. Even the best writers can be confusing at times, and even the best readers can be confused. So it never hurts to explain what you mean, even if you think you were pretty clear. Just make sure that you really make it clear. And a lot of times using meta-commentary is a way for you to elaborate a little bit, way for you to think of some more ideas, generate some additional material for your essay. When you're stuck on things, using meta-commentary can help you generate a few more ideas. Your title serves as meta-commentary. Your title, first of all, is the reader's first introduction to your essay's main point. It's kind of like clickbait for your essay, right? You think of when you're reading something on the internet and there's an interesting title and you click on it because you want to read more. That's essentially what you want your title to do in your essay. You want your reader to click on your essay and read the whole entire thing. It also gives your reader a little bit of a hint of the argument. It doesn't give away everything, but it gives enough away that the reader is intrigued. No title, or a vague title, like English essay, will tell the reader that you don't really care, that you didn't really think much about your argument. So if you didn't bother to come up with a title, that tells the reader that you probably didn't reflect on what you were saying. And you're not really interested in what you had to say. The moves that we've been talking about in the different chapters where we use our templates to make different moves in our writing serve as meta-commentary. So basically you've been doing meta-commentary all along, you just haven't known that you've been doing it. So the templates that we've been using actually function as meta-commentary. One way that they can do this is to ward off potential misunderstandings. So it helps you differentiate your views from ones they might be misunderstood to be. Helps you elaborate, helps you to take a previous point and say, in case you didn't understand it at first, let me put it a different way. Provides a roadmap for the reader, orients your reader. It's kind of like using GPS when you're going to a new place. You wouldn't just get in your car and drive somewhere, you'd get lost. And you don't want your reader to get lost, so provide them a roadmap. Some other templates can help us move from general to specific, where we're giving an example of something that we've been talking about. We're trying to illustrate what we're saying. It indicates how important a claim is. Is it more important than another claim, less important, or is it equally important as other claims that are already out there? And it explains anticipated objections. So think about, right, the naysayer like we've talked about before, and it gives you an opportunity to respond to some of those objections. And then it guides your reader to the most general point that you're trying to make. What is your main argument? And your meta-commentary moves can help you to do that. In chapter 11, he contends, using the templates to revive, the authors of your textbook are talking about how to use the templates to revise the content and organization of your essay. Now, this chapter is not talking about editing for grammar, punctuation, spelling, things like that, good vocabulary and sentence structure. That's not what this chapter is about. This chapter is for bigger ideas, broader revisions of the content of your essay and the way that it's organized. So So revision is important. We've talked about the writing process, that the first thing that you write is never what you really hand in or the last thing that you write. So how do you do that though? Well, the templates can actually help you. The templates are a kind of large-scale revision. They give you a little bit of a framework that they say, I say. And you can use the chapters in the book as a sort of checklist to help you go through and see, okay, have I done the things that I'm supposed to be doing in writing? Have I written logically and interestingly according to the advice from the textbook? So first, think about how you represent what others say. Do you start with what others say? If you don't, try to do so, because remember what we've talked about, they say, I say. You have to enter a conversation. If you don't say what they say, what you say isn't that logical or isn't that interesting. Do you summarize or paraphrase what they've said? And if you did you do it accurately and fairly? Do you quote others? And did you frame your quotation with a quote sandwich? Does the quotation really connect to your argument? Check for summary verbs. Did you just say, author says, author says, author says? Or did you use some more interesting verbs that accurately reflect what the author had to say? Have you documented your summaries and quotations? And did you remind the readers of what others say at various points in your essay? Throughout your text, as you're making your own argument, did you give your readers little hints of the summary of the other viewpoints? What do you say? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you do both? And have you made it clear? If you disagree, did you give reasons why you disagree? If you agree, did you add something to the conversation? And if you agree and disagree, did you confuse your reader? Were you evasive, or did you make it really clear why you both agree and disagree? Have you stated your position and the one it responds to as a connected unit? In other words, did you make it clear that you're responding to what they say? Did you use templates to make that clear? What reasons and evidence do you offer? And will readers be able to distinguish what you have to say from what others say? Are you saying anything new and interesting? Have you introduced any naysayers? Have you acknowledged likely objections? And if you have you represented those views fairly and then given a counter-argument that responds persuasively? If you didn't, think about what other perspectives might exist. Think about, okay, if I didn't include any naysayers, what are some of the objections that people might have to the argument I'm making? And have you used meta-commentary, what we just talked about, to clarify what you do and what you don't mean? No matter how clearly you think you have explained your main points, it's still a good idea to explain what you mean and what you don't mean. And do you have a title? Have you tied it all together? In other words, can readers follow your argument logically and easily? Check your use of transitions like however and therefore. Make sure your ideas clearly relate to one another. Check your use of pointing words. Do you use common pointers like this and that? Have you used what the book calls repetition with a difference? Have you shown why your argument matters? The so what and who cares? Don't assume that readers will see why your argument is important or why they should care. Make sure that you review the revised student essay at the end of chapter 11. It's a really great example of templates in use. I know it's a little bit long, but I think it's worth reading. And it's kind of interesting. It's about a student analyzes Family Guy, so if you're into Family Guy, it might be interesting for you to read. And I think it's a good for you to use as a model for your own essays that you're working on. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Now go do your homework.